My name is Cory and I'm a new mom. I decided to not receive the vaccine because I was pregnant and I was not sure about the long-term side effects of the vaccine for myself and for my baby because of the lack of information, if that makes any sort of sense. The fact that there was no long-term studies available about what would happen to me or what would happen to my daughter if I received the vaccine while I was pregnant, I came up with quite a bit of pressure from the healthcare system to take the vaccine. People really pushed that I could end up in the hospital or I could go into preterm labor. And they gave a lot of things that could happen if I got COVID. And so I should get the vaccine. But my take from the whole situation was that people were still getting COVID with or without the vaccine. So why would I take an experimental drug, essentially with no long-term information available to me, when the risks were the same either way? I had to deliver via C-section due to previous medical complications with my first birth. And there was about a month where we were really not certain whether my husband was going to be allowed to come into the hospital. We had actually looked into some doula services just so that I could hire myself a vaccinated support person to come in and be there with me and be a voice because I didn't have any close people in my life that were vaccinated that could come in to the delivery room if that became a requirement. I felt a lot of stress. I spent a lot of time crying. It was a really hard month, and it was probably, I tried my best not to worry because I know that wasn't good for my baby and my pregnancy, but it was really a difficult time not knowing if my husband was going to be there for the birth of our child. I used to be very proud to be Canadian, and I'm not very proud to be Canadian any longer, not with the current restrictions that the federal government is still imposing and that the provincial government are still imposing. In terms of being able to travel, in November of last year, my grandmother became very sick, and there was about a week that I could have gotten to her to say goodbye. But the highways were closed due to some flooding, and I wasn't able to fly. And I was quite heavily pregnant, but I still had 3 more weeks in my pregnancy where it was safe for me to get on an airplane. But because of the vaccine mandates, I wasn't able to see my grandma and say goodbye to her. So it's just the fact that I know that I'm not the only one that's missed out on saying goodbye to loved ones and being able to travel. And I shouldn't need a tragic reason to travel. I should just be able to travel regardless of my vaccination status. I don't believe that politicians and governments should be making decisions on people's personal health. I feel that it's a violation of human rights to be forcing a vaccination on anyone.